The effects of a manager's decisions on firm performance depend critically on the external and internal context. In this video, we begin developing the tools necessary to analyze external context. Industry analysis can help a manager understand what characteristics of the market are important determinants of firm profitability. It can also help in determining what actions should be taken to improve profitability. The greatest value that a firm could hope to capture is the entire value created in the value chain. This is called potential industry earnings and is illustrated here. The demand curve is consumer demand for the final good or service produced by the entire industry. This represents the value to the consumers. The cost curve represents the opportunity cost of resources used. The difference between the two is the potential industry earnings, or pie. A key here is the word potential. In the vast majority of cases, the industry will not capture all of the value. The distribution of the potential industry earnings is determined by rivalry among the incumbent firms, threat of entry from new firms, the power of suppliers, the power of buyers, and the threat from substitute products or services. Factors that increase the demand or that decrease the opportunity cost of resources increase potential industry earnings. Some of the factors that increase demand are fewer substitutes, higher price substitutes, more complements, lower priced complements, population growth, and changes in income. The decrease in the cost curve comes from cost reductions. It is important to realize that current or historical industry profits are not necessarily a good guide to how large potential industry earnings actually are. This is because actual profits may be a small fraction of the potential. Effective strategy may enable a firm to create or capture more value. In some cases, there may not be much a firm can do through business strategy to capture more pie. To see this, consider a situation where all suppliers along the value chain compete in perfectly competitive markets. That is, in each stage in the value chain there are many buyers, there are many suppliers, there is easy entry and exit, and all firms are producing an identical product. Since every firm is producing an identical product, no firm is able to price above the going market price. Consumers are infinitely price sensitive. Competition will drive the price to equal average cost. For this reason, all the potential industry earnings will be captured by the consumers as consumer surplus. This example suggests that firms in perfectly competitive markets, like wheat farming for example, have no real opportunity to implement business strategy to capture a portion of the potential industry earnings. A farmer raising organic hard red wheat is raising the same thing as every other farmer raising organic hard red wheat, and so cannot successfully advertise, build brand loyalty, etc. Farmers engage in activities like forecasting market price fluctuations so that they can plant the most profitable crops, diversifying their portfolios by planting multiple types of crops, and actually farming. But none of these activities are the sorts of things we would consider business strategy. In industries with structures like oligopoly and monopolistic competition, there are opportunities for business strategy. These are industries where there are opportunities for diversification, for barriers to entry, to build brand loyalty, to target niche markets, etc. There can be a large degree of interdependence between the actions and profits of competing firms. In these industries, strategic behavior is important. If rivalry among competitors in the industry is strong, firms' profits can suffer. This is especially true when the rivalry consists of price competition. However, it is more than just the industry structure that a firm competes in and the strategic behavior of firms' rivals that determine a firm's profitability. The 5 forces analysis introduces 4 additional forces that affect the share of potential industry earnings that a firm is able to capture. For instance, there may be a strong threat of new entrants into the market because of low barriers to entry. This would constrain the ability of incumbent firms to market price above marginal cost. There may also be a threat of substitute products or services. This too would constrain the ability of incumbent firms to price above cost to earn economic profit. If the bargaining power of suppliers is strong, suppliers may capture a significant share of potential industry earnings by charging high prices. A firm would much rather buy inputs from firms competing in a perfectly competitive market where bargaining power of suppliers is weak than buy inputs from a monopolist where the bargaining power of the supplier is strong. Bargaining power of buyers can also be an important force. For example, this force can be strong if buyers are price sensitive or lack brand loyalty. When any of these 5 forces are strong, the firm profits are decreased. The 5 forces analysis can help a firm respond to industry changes. In some cases, a firm may be able to shape an industry structure so that the five forces are more favorable to the company. The five forces analysis can also help a company position itself where the forces are weakest. As an example, consider Walmart in the early days. Walmart's first stores were opened in the rural Midwest. These were areas that had been largely ignored by its numerous competitors. By going into areas where its competitors were not, it positioned itself so that rivalry would be weak. Due to economies of scale, Walmart's minimum efficient scale for each store was close to the market demand. This gave Walmart somewhat of a natural monopoly in each location, thus making threat of entry a weak force. The stores Walmart built in small rural locations were largely a sunk cost as there was no other use for the buildings. High sunk costs also served as a barrier to entry. Since consumers in small areas had to drive long distances to find a competitor, Walmart was also positioning its stores where buyer power was weak. Data show that in these rural areas where buyer power was weak, consumers paid a price premium. Walmart worked to limit supplier power by becoming an important purchaser of products for a large and efficient distribution network. Walmart was known to be a very tough negotiator. In the early days, the power of substitutes was also very limited. The small mom-and-pop shops were often driven out of business by Walmart, and this was many years before the rise of Amazon and other online shopping. Walmart was able to grow and create a large and efficient distribution and inventory system by positioning its first stores where all five forces were weak. After building a uniquely efficient distribution and inventory system, Walmart was set to essentially shape the five forces as it moved into more urban areas. There is a temptation when crafting strategy to focus on just rivalry among existing competitors. However, the five forces analysis enables us to build strategy in the context of the entire industry picture.